Hey guys, over the last few months I've been retooling the workshop a little bit in between projects, around projects. In particular, I got the 8662A up, put into service and removed some items. I'll talk more about that and other changes in a separate video. What I want to talk right now about is test speaker. This was sparked by a comment from one of my viewers, and it gave me the push to finally address something that's been long overdue. So you've probably seen me use this test speaker many times. I have a little bit of fondness for because it's one of the oldest things I have that I still use on a regular basis. I think I got this back in the late 80s from some surplus catalog, all electronics, Jamco, something like that. And it served me well. It's just, I think, an 8-ohm voice coil, paper cone. Yeah, it's gotten torn, it's gotten repaired. But what the comment was like, hey, why don't you build an enclosure for that? Make it a little more easier to use. Well, he has a point. But I've had a solution for a couple of years, 2.5 years now. I just haven't gotten around to it, which is this. Which is a Heathkit Signal Tracer Model T2. A signal tracer, for those of you who don't know, it consists of a detector probe, a probe that has typically a germanium diode, maybe a filter cap, maybe a resistor in it, that you can probe around in a radio, audio amp, whatnot, and it will convert RF, IF, into what'll detect it. So if it's AM modulated, it'll turn it into audio and feeds it into this device, which has variable gain, and you can listen on the speaker. So if you're troubleshooting a circuit, you can probe around and listen for where the signal drops out, or if you're trying to eliminate hum, you can poke around and see where the hum's coming from. That's all well and good. You can use a scope to do something similar, so you don't see me, well, I've never actually used this before. What I care about is the other side of it, this stuff. This is also a universal speaker substitution box. What do I mean by universal? Well, these two jacks in particular, the black C and the red VC, those go right to the voice coil of the speaker. So if I hook up some banana jacks with alligator clips on this, I can use this exactly the same way I've been using that other speaker all this time. However, you can also use these jacks, which go to an audio output transformer inside this box. They can operate in either single-ended or push-pull modes, and these switches allow you to select different impedances for the primary, from 260 all the way up to 50K for single-ended, or 1K up to 250K for push-pull operation. So if I'm working on something that's got a fried output transformer, or I'm missing the original speaker which had an output transformer built onto the frame, I can plug it into this. That's a really, really handy thing to be able to do. Now, I picked this up at a radio swap meet, Radio Fest, a few years ago. It came with the cord cut off. I've never opened it up. I don't know anything about it. Other than I found the construction manual online. I printed out the parts list and the schematic. So Heathkit was a manufacturer of kits starting back, I don't know, 40s? 50s, and they made affordable versions of useful test equipment. For sure you could get them in kit form and build it yourself. I don't know if you could buy them pre-assembled or not. That's why I said I printed out the construction manual, and you can see that somebody drew a line through all, or chucked off the components as they installed them. So in other words, this was probably made by somebody. So you never know what the build quality is going to be until you take a look inside. Alright. Let's take a look. So we have 3 tubes. From the schematic, I know We've got a rectifier, 6x5, and a 6SH7 preamp, and then a 6K6 to drive the speaker. So that'd be these three. So that'd be when you're using it for a signal detector. It can amplify quite a bit and drive that speaker. This power transformer. And here's what we got down below. So it's tiny, but that is the universal output transformer. Obviously not really high wattage, but we don't need that. This is made pretty well. And it looks to be pretty much all original, so we're going to want to replace these caps. And I did a little bit of Googling online, and somebody mentioned this. I wasn't sure what they meant, but now that I can see it, I know what they mean. That is what's commonly called a bathtub capacitor. It's a metal tub. In this case, it looks like we have two capacitors inside, and the body would be the common negative. So somebody had asked on the Antique Radio Forum, why did they use that? Do I need to replace it with something special? And the general response was, no, they built these using war surplus parts, and they must have had a bunch of these, and that's why they used it. You can just replace it with regular plastic film capacitors, and you'll be fine. So poking around, I do see some evidence of a repair. There is half of a resistor left flopping around down here, and it sure looks like this really large 560 ohm resistor was there, put in there to replace it. So something bad happened to this at some point. So want to be aware of that when we recap this and power it up. So that would be on the 6x5. I'm going to guess that resistor goes between two caps. Wow, the schematic's hard to read. I think it's that, which originally was a 470. Just your typical pi bridge. So electrolytic. So right off the rectifier, electrolytic cap, resistor, electrolytic cap. So my first thought when that resistor blew open is that this cap is shorted, or something else downstream was drawing excessive current. However, it also seems likely that after they made the repair, the thing worked. So maybe one of these caps is a replacement. Let's see, did they replace the main filter cap? Which would be this guy. It sure looks like it's original. So this is the main filter cap for the power supply, that big orange guy. There's two caps inside there. So I don't know. Overall, this is in really good shape. Cosmetically, it's in excellent condition, so I'm going to be very careful not to scratch the front of it. As far as the quality of the components, I mean, look, no knock to Heathkit. It was amazing that a company like this existed. It's incredible, all of the kits they made. Like color TVs, you could have bought a kit to make one of those. And a huge range of test equipment, which must have been fantastic to be able to buy and build this stuff and use it in your own home tinkering workshop, or imagine some more budget-minded service shops would use these. But I gotta say, they're not the highest quality. These switches are a little They're cheapo phenolic switches. I mean, look, just like now, back then, real high-quality test equipment was really expensive. But if I had them, I might be inclined to replace these two switches with something like some ceramic switches. I don't know how well they'll hold up if I use them a whole lot, but we'll find out. So, I want to replace the line cord because it's completely gone, and get to recapping. But before we do any of that, we can also check out the speaker, because you can use, for the universal speaker replacement portion, you don't need to turn it on. So I actually don't, if that's all I wanted to use this for, I don't have to do anything other than make sure it works, because you don't use any of the tubes. It's not amplified. You're feeding a signal that drives the speaker. So I happen to be wrapping up this Admiral TV. So let's hook up this speaker to the output amp on this TV. Oh, almost forgot to mention that there is a seller on eBay that sells reproduction probes for this and many other devices. I think it's $30. So nice plastic body on the probe that has a detector diode and associated components, and a 1/4-inch phono plug that plugs into that. These others are all banana jacks. At first I thought maybe the size was a little bit different than modern stuff, but I think it's just that these banana jack to alligator clip probes I have just aren't the greatest. The two common sizes nowadays are 2 and 4 millimeters, so these would be the 4 millimeter variety, but it is a little tough to get these in. I just ordered up some others online. I gotta tighten that one down. It's a little, and they're both loose. Yeah, so anyways, this thing needs a little bit of servicing, a little bit of TLC. So the idea is I should be able to hook this. Now when you want to make this switch go to external versus internal, when you're when using it for speaker substitution, otherwise the speaker's hooked up to the internal amp. Alright, so we should be good to go. Changed my mind. I don't want to pull the audio amp for this TV out right now because I will need the space to work on this. So we'll just use this audio generator. It's got enough output power I can drive a speaker directly. So I'm just hooking the output of the function generator directly up to that speaker. And let's turn it on. Put it on the highest output mode, and let's turn up the volume. Look, I can hear it already. There we go. Low frequency response is kind of terrible. Drops out at around 150, 200 ohms, but anyways, higher frequencies it's just fine. So there we go. Fantastic. So where to start? Well, for one, we need a new line cord, and it kills me because I just ordered up a whole bunch yesterday, but they won't be here for a week or so. I was recently complaining about how expensive replacement lamp line cords are at the local home improvement center. A viewer gave me a tip to a place that sells lamp supplies, and in bulk they're $1.35 each, I think, so I ordered up a whole mess of them, but I don't have them yet. So I'll use something for now, temporarily. Let's see. Oh, no wonder these are loose. Okay, again, not the greatest quality. So I noted that these banana jacks seem kind of loose. They're just held on with speed nuts. Just those spring metal things you push on from the back. There's no nut to tighten down. Well, yeah, this one's pretty loose. I mean, I can try to push it down tighter, but... So eventually, as I use this more and more, I may start replacing more and more of it, like put in some higher quality banana plugs with a washer and a nut on the back. But for now, definitely want to clean these switches because they were very dirty and kind of hard to rotate. So get some deoxit in there. Oh, jeez. Test the tubes and replace the caps. You might just go ahead and do all the resistors too. So I was saying about them using up surplus parts in these kits. There's a dog bone resistor in here. There was one out in the 30s. And of course, we have some wax and paper caps, or one of them at least. Oh yeah, that is too. It looks. These two guys look like they're dry electrolytic caps, but no, they're paper caps. Paper cap, paper cap, paper cap, dual paper cap, electrolytic, dual electrolytic, and there's one more paper cap up on top. I've made some progress. down below, but one thing holding me up was a new line cord that needs to attach on this terminal strip right here. And I don't quite want to finish all these connections here, so I want to be able to get down below. Well, a package just arrived, which I think contains a bunch of line cords. Sprayed some deoxit into these switches, and they're turning and feeling a lot better, especially this guy, which was nearly impossible to slide before. Alright, so I got a great tip about a place to get inexpensive line cords from grandbrass.com. I will try to remember to put a link in the description, and if I don't, I'm sure one of you will remind me. In bulk, I think they were $1.35 each. It was a lot better than $10 or so at my local home improvement center. Yeah, that's what we got. I think I ordered 20 of them. So I know I'll be using them. They kind of connect them all together here. Let's see, which one should I undo first to get this bundle freed up. Interesting way of, not quite sure what they did here. I think we got one of them free. There we go. Ah, yes, exactly what I was looking for. I think they're 8 feet long. Looks like the 18 gauge stranded. Perfect for this application. And it's polarized, so not that it really matters much, I don't think. The way this is wired, obviously it has a power transformer. And interestingly, they switch both, or they have 2 switches in it. Not interestingly, but there's 2 switches in the power switch. One controls power to the primary of the transformer, and the other switches B+ going to the center tap on the output transformer, meaning that when it's turned off, this is electrically isolated, so you can connect it up to an external device to drive that transformer, and the internals of this will not interfere with it in any manner. I've got my new power cord installed with an underwriter's knot. Finished up work in this area. Got new terminal strip installed. So close to being able to use both the original mounting holes, but I did have to drill a new one because the holes just didn't quite line up. And let's see, I've got 2 more caps to replace down below and 1 more up here, and I think that's it. And this just arrived, which is the replacement or replica probe. Looks to be very well made. So I think pretty soon we'll be able to try this guy out. I finished with the recap, and I have powered it up enough to know it passes the smoke test. In other words, I can turn it on and nothing bad happens. Now let's actually try using it. Bottom left, power switch and gain control. I've got my reproduction probe plugged in. You're supposed to set this for internal and 4 and 5 to match the speaker and output transformer to this internal 6K6. Huh. That's a really strong output. Methinks this device is not working properly. Well, I came very close to throwing in the towel multiple times on this project, but I'm happy to say it's got a happy ending, more or less. So, I have a bunch of troubleshooting video that led to nowhere. I might include some of it. So in the end, basic recap, reproduction probe, put it back together, it works. Definitely putting the enclosure back on and tightening it down is very important. That eliminated the noise I was getting. Let me turn off my signal source. Cut out that noisy fan. So before, when I would get to about this point, we were getting some crazy feedback, some really nasty sounds. Now we just get some hum, and that's literally from the probe picking up, whatever. Even if I disconnect it, there's still a little bit leaking in, but it's pretty quiet. And if I do plug it in, of course I'm just picking up RF out of the air. It's a detector diode in this. It's being amplified by this. We have variable gain. There you go. And if I hook this back up to my RF generator, turn down the gain, turn my RF gen back on, which is, well, there you go. 5 megahertz, AM modulation, 400 hertz tone, or kilohertz tone. Pretty darn strong output. Let's turn that down, way down. We'll have to turn up the gain on this guy. We should be able to hear our tone again. And there it is. Lovely. So, what was I pulling my hair out about? What was the big problem? This stupid switch. Whoever built this did this wrong. External, internal. What position is it in right now? External. External is the position you use when you want to feed an external signal into it. He has it backwards. So all this time I had it on internal because I want to use the internal circuitry to drive the speaker, but it was wired wrong, so nothing was getting through. It was just picking up noise and feedback, and nothing was working right. That was the problem. All right. You will no doubt see this used more in the future, actually probably very soon, maybe tomorrow, at least from my point of view, because my buddy is coming over to resume work on a couple record changers, and rather than firing up a whole TV or a PA system, we can feed the output of the phonograph cartridge right into this device and use the amplifier and speaker built into this. So my primary needs or reason for wanting this was actually to just use it with this thing turned off to feed external stuff into it for a test speaker for all the projects I'm working on, but it can also be quite useful as a troubleshooting aid. So it's going to become a prominent feature on the workbench, and I'm sure you'll be seeing it more in the future. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look at a Heathkit S2 signal tracer and universal output transformer and speaker substitution box.